Unit 4 Defame
を中傷するの名誉を傷つける。
Famous people are often defamed by the media. Exponent
主義などの主張者。
He was one of the most important exponents of the pop art movement. Mortgage
住宅ローン
I have a mortgage of 80,000 yen per month. Appease
をなだめる
The prime minister fired the minister to appease the opposition. Purported
とされる。
Everyone is suspicious of the purported witness. Endowment
寄付、寄付金
The business is conducted by an endowment from the local residents. Discredit
の評判を落とす。
That improper remark discredited the mayor. Retrieve
を救出する、取り戻す。
He retrieved the wallet he left on the train from the lost and found. Halt
を停止する。
The war halted the economic growth of the country. Besiege
を包囲する。
His hotel was besieged by hundreds of fans. Accusation
告発、非難。
The athlete has denied the accusation that he used the drug. Fraud
詐欺、詐欺行為。
The fortune teller was sued for fraud.
Instill.
思想、感情などを徐々に教え込む、染み込ませる。
Good teachers instill confidence in their students. Norm.
規範、基準。
Staying with one company during your entire career is no longer a norm. Stunning.
驚くべき。
The singer is a stunning talent. Disseminate.
を広める。
The activists disseminated information about the recycling program. Hostile.
環境などが厳しい。
These plants can grow in a hostile environment. Imminent.
差し迫った、切迫した。
There was no imminent danger to residents in the area. Predispose.
に、何々の傾向を与える。
These mice are genetically predisposed to cancer. Surveillance.
監視、
They are under the surveillance of the authorities. Clamor.
騒がしい音。
The clamor of the crowd grew louder. Assertive.
はっきり意見を述べる。断定的な。
She had to be assertive to ask for a refund at the shop. Calamity.
こう、災難。
The flood was a serious calamity for local farmers. Whim.
気まぐれ。
I chose the color by the whim of the moment.
Parity.
同等、同額。
Women have nearly achieved pay parity with men in the company. Prolific.
多作な。
He is known as a prolific writer. Skyrocket.
急激に上昇する。
Food prices are skyrocketing. Pesticide.
殺虫剤。
This is a guidebook on how to use pesticides safely. Preservation.
維持、保存。
The group is working for the preservation of cultural traditions. Scour.
を探し回る。
He scoured the country for a girl whom the glass shoe fits perfectly. Comprehensive.
総合的な。
We must pass a comprehensive examination. Asset.
資産、財産。
Local governments have to use the public assets effectively. Upheaval.
大変動、激変。
The country was in political upheaval at that time. Renounce.
を放棄する。
Japan forever renounced war. Deride.
を嘲笑う。
Critics derided the plan as nonsense. Harness.
を利用する。
New technologies are being developed to harness tidal energy and ocean currents.
Uphold.
法律、主義などを支持する、擁護する。
The judge upheld the lower court's decision. Pounce.
に襲いかかる、飛びかかる。
A lion pounced on a buffalo. Complacency.
自己満足、独りよがり。
They criticized the government for its complacency over the economy. Invert.
を逆さにする。
Please invert the empty glass. Reinforce.
を補強する、考えなどを強力にする。
The construction company has a contract to reinforce the bridge. Extract.
を抽出する。
I extracted essential oil from lavender. Ample.
豊富な。
I had ample time to complete the test. Brag.
自慢する。
He bragged about his collection of classic cars. Onus.
重荷、責任。
The onus was on the new president to revive the country's economy. Prone.
好ましくない傾向がある。
My son is prone to injury. Convict.
に有罪判決を出す。
He was convicted of a robbery and served 5 years. Displace.
人を立ち退かせる。強制退去させる。
People in the village were displaced due to the developing project.
Contraband.
密輸品。
They needed to consider measures to prevent contraband trade. Rebel.
反逆者、反乱軍兵士。
He is leading the fight against the rebels. Ember.
残り火、燃えさし。
She blew on the ember to produce fire. Blur.
を曖昧にする。
In this novel, the author blurs the line between reality and fiction. Emulate.
に負けまいと努力する。
He is emulating his father as a soccer player. Posture.
姿勢、
These stretching exercises help improve your posture. Stigma.
恥辱、不名誉の印。
There is a stigma attached to obesity. Exorbitant.
法外な、途方もない。
The storekeeper charged me an exorbitant amount of money. Ignite.
論争などに火をつける。
His book ignited another heated dispute. Eradicate.
病気などを根絶する。
That disease was completely eradicated from the world. Bluntly.
無遠慮に、ぶっきらぼうに。
To put it bluntly, that is an illegal activity. Ravage.
荒廃、残害。
Fortunately, the area escaped the ravages of war.
Tenet.
主義、教義。
Freedom of speech is a central tenet of democracy. Amass.
を蓄積する、収集する。
They amassed enough evidence to support their idea. Brunt.
攻撃の矛先、矢面。
The bank escaped the brunt of the global financial crisis. Multitude.
多数。
Our education system faces a multitude of problems. Embroil.
を巻き込む。
The president's careless statement embroiled the country into the war. Etch.
に刻みつける、エッチングする。
The rock is etched with various patterns and images. Diversify.
を多様化する。
Some countries are starting to take steps to diversify energy sources. Hedge.
生垣、垣根。
The church is surrounded by a hedge and trees. Regimen.
食事、投薬などの計画。
The athlete is undergoing a strict regimen of diet. Subsidize.
に補助金を与える。
This hospital is subsidized by the city. Advent.
到来、出現。
With the advent of the internet, our life has changed dramatically. Drench.
をびしょ濡れにする。
A sudden shower drenched me all over.
Specimen.
標本。
This museum contains about 1,000 specimens of birds. Hypothesis.
仮説。
It's a mere hypothesis proposed for explanation. Pertinent.
適切な、妥当な。
Please provide pertinent information on the reverse of this form. Implant.
を移植する、埋め込む。
A pacemaker was implanted in her chest. Strand.
髪の毛、糸。
The battery is as thin as a strand of human hair. Devastate.
を壊滅させる。
The city was devastated by a huge earthquake. Repel.
を追い払う、拒絶する。
The farmer repelled little birds in the field. Extinct.
絶滅した。
Dinosaurs became extinct 65 million years ago. Virtually.
事実上。
It is virtually impossible to finish my report by tomorrow. Exploit.
を開発する。
The logging companies are exploiting the rainforest. Stake.
杭。
I stretched a rope between the two stakes. Bombard.
質問などで、を責め立てる。を砲撃する。
The president was bombarded with questions from foreign reporters.
Correlation.
相関関係。
There is a strong correlation between smoking and lung cancer. Intriguing.
興味をそそる。
This novel raises intriguing questions about what it means to be human. Stagnant.
停滞した。
The Japanese economy still remains stagnant. Fray.
争い、いさかい。
Both parties entered the election fray. Splurge.
散財する。
I felt the urge to splurge on a luxury watch. Interminable.
果てしない。
After an interminable wait, my name was finally called. Disguise.
を偽装する、偽る。
The man disguised his true identity. Discernible.
認められる、識別できる。
There is no discernible difference between the two versions. Covet.
を切望する。
In distant times, the island was coveted by France and Spain. Recipient.
受け手、受益者。
I added her email address to the recipient list. Transparent.
透明な。
The government should make healthcare reform more transparent. Deficiency.
不足、欠乏。
The extreme diet caused her vitamin deficiency.
Pacify.
をなだめる、鎮める。
They tried in vain to pacify the angry crowd. Traumatic.
心的外傷を残す。
His death was the most traumatic event in my life. Bicker.
些細なことで口論する。
They are always bickering about what to eat for lunch. Affluent.
裕福な。
She grew up in an affluent family. Incidence.
病気などの発生率。
The area has high incidence of cancer compared to the national average. Swap.
を交換する。
We swapped phone numbers and email addresses. Comprise.
を構成する。
The United States is comprised of 50 states. Due.
会費。
You can pay your membership dues online. Impel.
を駆り立てる。強いる。
He felt impelled to express his own opinion. Cranky.
イライラした。機嫌の悪い。
She was a little tired and cranky. Inter.
を埋葬する。
He was interred next to his wife. Rumple.
をくしゃくしゃにする。
The man rumpled his hair with his hands.
Staid.
生真面目な。退屈な。
The company is trying to shake off its staid image. Shoddy.
粗悪な。手抜きの。
Consumers have a right to be compensated for shoddy goods. Trepidation.
恐怖、不安。
Investors are watching the market with great trepidation. Heist.
強盗。
He was charged with a heist of $3 million in cash. Conceal.
を隠す。隠蔽する。
The food manufacturer attempted to conceal the fact. Billow.
帆のように膨らむ。
The curtains billowed in the breeze. Perverse.
ひねくれた。屈折した。
She seems to take a perverse pleasure in making her parents sad. Levy.
徴税、課税。
The city plans to impose a levy on cars entering there. Mutilate.
手足などを切断する。
A mutilated body of a woman was found in the car yesterday. Dank.
ジメジメした。湿っぽくて寒い。
The inside of the cave was dark and dank. Cripple.
を機能不全にする。ダメにする。
The plan was crippled by a lack of funds. Figment.
作りごと。絵空ごと。
That episode was just a figment of her imagination.
Chuckle.
くすくす笑う。ほくそ笑む。
The audience chuckled at the lecturer's joke. Limp.
脆弱な。弱々しい。
His leg suddenly went limp and he couldn't stand on his own. Scuff.
をこする。
He scuffed his shoes on the carpet. Acrid.
鼻をつく。刺激性の。
The acrid smoke from the burning car made my eyes water. Taint.
を汚す。汚染する。
The water was tainted with industrial waste. Crest.
頂上。山頂。
The church stands on the crest of the hill. Aperture.
開口部。隙間。穴。
We entered the cave through a narrow aperture. Agnostic.
不可知論者の。
I am agnostic and not sure whether there is a God or not. Envoy.
施設。使者。
The EU sent a special envoy to the area. Squarely.
真っ向から。直接に。
We must face and deal with the issues squarely. Decrepit.
老衰した。老朽化した。
The decrepit building was transformed into an excellent hotel. Gnaw.
をかじる。かじり取る。
A rabbit has gnawed the tender leaves away.
Impulsive.
衝動的な。一時の感情による。
She made an impulsive decision to quit her job. Blanch.
を熱湯に通す。湯がく。
She blanched the corn briefly in boiling water. Tier.
段階。階層。
The coach introduced 3-tier training courses. Dividend.
株式の配当。
The company declared a dividend of 25 cents per share for this quarter. Logistically.
業務遂行上。
Such tests are logistically difficult as they are time-consuming. Impoverish.
を貧乏にする。
The agricultural policy has impoverished local farmers. Induct.
人を就任させる。任命する。
She was inducted as an honorary member of the association in 2013. Topple.
政府などを転覆させる。
He was involved in a plot to topple the government. Impound.
を押収する。
He had his car impounded for driving on an expired driver's license. Counterpart.
同等物。よく似た人、物。
The foreign minister discussed the matter with his French counterpart. Snide.
嫌味な。
She made a snide remark about my clothes. Drool.
よだれを垂らす。
Babies begin drooling before they begin teething.
Supplant.
にとって変わる。
Conventional lamps are being supplanted by LED lighting. Feasible.
実現可能な。
The plan is technically feasible. Obnoxious.
非常に不愉快な、無礼な。
They get obnoxious when they get drunk. Mortality.
死亡。
The lung cancer mortality rate has increased in the country. Dice.
野菜、肉などをさいの目に切る。
Peel and dice the potatoes into small cubes. Erratic.
不安定な、ムラのある。
He was driving his car in an erratic manner. Lure.
を誘い出す、誘い込む。
They lured the boy to a deserted park. Insular.
偏境な、島国根性の。
The village is quite isolated and people there are insular. Breach.
法律、協定などを破る。
He was accused of breaching the contract by the company. Avarice.
金銭に対する貪欲、強欲。
All her actions were motivated by avarice. Specify.
を詳細に述べる。
The contract specifies the time period. Surge.
高まり、海のうねり。
The wetlands serve as a natural barrier against tide surges.
Truncate.
引用文などを切り詰める。
Those interviews were published in truncated form. Alignment.
整列。
The pain was caused by my spine being out of alignment. Conviviality.
陽気さ、賑やかさ。
There was a lot of laughter and a great sense of conviviality. Emaciated.
栄養失調などで痩せ細った。
The disease causes infected animals to become emaciated. Impertinent.
不作法な、礼儀をわきまえない。
They were thrown out of the conference for being impertinent. Disciplinary.
懲戒の、規律上の。
The university decided to take disciplinary action against some students. Annulment.
取り消し、廃止。
The team announced the annulment of its contract with the foreign player. Prescient.
予知する、予見する力のある。
The economist was prescient about the financial crisis. Tyranny.
専制政治、暴政。
They fought to liberate their country from tyranny. Constellation.
星座。
To the right of Mars lies the constellation of Orion. Niggle.
些細なことにこだわる。くどくど文句を言う。
He tends to niggle over little details. Debilitate.
を衰弱させる。
The patient was severely debilitated by surgery.
Doomed.
運命づけられた。
Everything he tries seems doomed to failure. Infirmity.
虚弱、病気。
Her death was due to the infirmities of age. Abominable.
嫌悪感を引き起こす。ひどい。
The food at the restaurant was good, but the service was abominable. Docile.
従順な。
The horse looks very docile. Voraciously.
貪欲に。
When she became a teenager, she began to read books voraciously. Inception.
始まり、開始。
He was a member of the committee since its inception. Renowned.
有名な。
Many renowned musicians came together for the charity. Irk.
をうんざりさせる。イライラさせる。
The city council's decision irked many people. Pulverize.
をひいて粉状にする。粉々にする。
Put the ingredients in the food processor and pulverize into a fine powder. Sinister.
邪悪な。不吉な。
The man had a sinister look on his face. Velocity.
速度。
We will assume that the velocity of the moving object is v. Expire.
有効期限が切れる。
My driver's license expires in 3 months.
Deteriorate.
悪化する。
The country's economy deteriorated rapidly in the early 1990s. Collation.
照合、対象調査。
The team is responsible for the collation of data. Probationary.
使用中の、見習い中の。
All new employees will be subject to a probationary period of 6 months. Vigorous.
活力にあふれた。
We had a vigorous debate on the issue. Peddle.
を売り歩く、行商する。
There are some trucks on the street peddling ice cream to kids. Demur.
異議を唱える。
I demurred to her proposal to keep the store open late. Configuration.
配置、配列。
The configuration of atoms in a molecule determines the molecule's properties. Execute.
を処刑する。
He was found guilty and was executed. Refurbish.
を改装する、改修する。
That hotel was fully refurbished last year. Ruffle.
をしわくちゃにする。
Some of the pages of this book are ruffled at the top. Fallible.
誤りに陥りがちな。誤りを免れない。
Human memory is fallible and susceptible to influence. Revile.
を罵る、罵倒する。
The mayor was reviled as racist.
Amenable.
従順な、
He is amenable to advice. Euphoric.
幸福感に満ちた。
The good news put his family in a euphoric mood. Enzyme.
酵素、
Enzymes are essential to the human body. Demure.
女性衣服などがおとなしい、控えめな。
His daughter is shy and demure. Snarl.
犬などが歯をむいてうなる。
My neighbor's dog always snarls at me. Delirious.
精神が錯乱した。
She was delirious and nothing she said made sense. Furtive.
人目を盗んだ、内緒の。
He threw a furtive glance in her direction. Paltry.
ごくわずかな。
The company rejected a paltry 1% pay raise. Perceptible.
知覚できる。
The light was barely perceptible. Ameliorate.
を改善する。
They were striving to ameliorate educational quality. Fervent.
熱心な。
The memorial service was preceded by a fervent prayer. Promiscuous.
性的に乱れた。
The artist led a promiscuous lifestyle.
Thrust.
をぐいと押す、突っ込む。
He thrust his hands into his coat pockets. Epitaph.
母悲鳴、碑文。
A Latin epitaph is inscribed on his tomb. Imbue.
思想、感情などに植え付ける。
They were imbued with Christian faith. Annihilate.
を全滅させる、絶滅させる。
The president has vowed to annihilate terrorists. Recede.
退く、後退する。
The floodwaters slowly receded. Ascetic.
苦行の、禁欲的な。
He lived a very ascetic life for a long time. Faculty.
大学の学部、教職員。
Faculty meetings are held on the first Monday of each month. Impede.
進行などを遅らせる。
The civil wars in the 1990s impeded the country's economic development. Imperious.
傲慢な、横柄な。
She demanded an imperious tone. Indolence.
怠惰、武将。
He has a reputation for indolence. Fortuitously.
偶然に思いがけず。
Our visit to the city fortuitously coincided with its summer festival. Sneer.
冷笑。
A faint sneer came over her face.
Brandish.
武器などを振り回す。
The robber brandished a large knife. Scarce.
乏しい、不十分な。
Job opportunities are scarce and unemployment is high. Ferocious.
獰猛な、凶暴な。
The ferocious dog was put in a cage. Trite.
古臭い、陳腐な。
He kept on using trite phrases in his speech. Proposition.
対処すべき事柄、主張。
Satisfying both sides is not a simple proposition. Enliven.
を活気づける。
The residents discussed how to enliven the area. Fiendish.
悪魔のような、残酷で不快な。
The man approached her with a fiendish look on his face. Outcast.
社会から追放された人。
She is very afraid of being labeled as an outcast. Propagation.
動植物の繁殖。
They are dedicated to the preservation and propagation of the giant panda. Tangle.
もつれ。
Whenever I fly a kite, it ends in a tangle of string. Subversive.
政府、体制を転覆させる。破壊活動をする。
The movie was banned for being too subversive. Jumble.
をごちゃ混ぜにする。混乱させる。
The photos are jumbled in the folder.
Quirk.
変な癖、奇行。
Everyone has their own unique quirks. Exorcism.
悪魔払いの儀式。
They thought an exorcism was necessary to get rid of the evil spirits. Prevaricate.
ごまかす。言い逃れる。
The politician should stop prevaricating and tell the truth. Zeal.
熱意。
The mayor worked on the problem with great zeal. Depict.
を描く。
This portrait depicts a famous politician. Irrigation.
水を引くこと。灌漑。
A child fell into the irrigation canal. Pasture.
牧草地。放牧場。
Those cows are put out to pasture throughout the summer. Underwrite.
の費用を負担する。
Not a few investors agree to underwrite the project. Rebate.
払い戻し。
You need to fill in this form to get the tax rebate. Irascible.
短気な。
He is irascible and childish. Empathize.
に共感する。感情移入する。
It is important to empathize with and understand others. Conscription.
徴兵制度。
The country has a mandatory conscription for all of its male citizens.
Data file. Legislature.
立法府、議会。
Hegemony.
派遣、支配権、
constituency,
有権者、
territorial integrity,
領土保全、
regiment,
を軍隊に編入する、
infrastructure,
社会基盤、インフラ、
inflation,
インフレ、通貨膨張、
checking account,
当座預金、
overdraft,
当座貸越、
insurance policy,
保険契約、保険証券、
sawmill,
製材所、
wharf,
埠頭、鳩場、
pier,
桟橋、
layover,
途中下車、飛行機の乗り継ぎの待ち合わせ、
output,
生産高、産出量、
mergers and acquisitions,
合併、買収、M&A、
consortium,
合弁企業、共同企業体、
syndicate,
シンジケート、企業連合、
conglomerate,
コングロマリット、複合企業、
economies of scale,
スケールメリット、規模の経済、
retailer,
小売業者、
lifetime employment,
終身雇用、
liability waiver,
免責同意書、
kickback,
見返り、リベート、
bankruptcy,
破産、倒産、
dowry,
結婚持参金、
ridership,
交通機関の利用者数、
pariah,
社会ののけもの、不老者、
derelict,
路上生活者、ホームレス、
life vest,
救命胴衣、
burglary,
押し込み強盗、
looting,
略奪、
petty crime,
軽犯罪、
reoffending,
再犯、
perpetrator,
犯人、加害者、
defendant,
被告、
plaintiff,
原告、
juror,
陪審員、
jury,
陪審、陪審員団、
prosecutor,
検察官、検事、
attorney,
弁護士、
barrister,
法廷弁護士、
jurisdiction,
司法権、管轄権、
capital punishment,
極刑、死刑、